I'd like to call to order a regular meeting of the Board of Education, July 20th, 2021 at 7 o'clock p.m. Kathy, could you please call the roll?
Dremel.
Here.
Hilbert.
Here.
Locke.
Here.
Lowe.
Present.
Mathis.
Here.
And Meadows.
Here.
And Meisler. Sorry.
Oh, she's not here. And Mr. Kilberg, could you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Dr. Hitchens, are there any items to be added to or removed from the agenda tonight?
There are not.
All right, we will go right to public comment. Welcome everyone to the Board of Education meeting. If anyone wishes to address the board, I think most of you have turned in your pink sheets, but you would see our recording secretary to submit a form for addressing us. We ask that you put your full name and address on the form as we're required by state law to keep a detailed set of minutes for our meetings. In general, the board does not answer questions or engage in dialogue during public comment. It doesn't mean we don't take your comments or concerns seriously. If you have specific questions and you'd like someone to follow up with you, we just ask you to submit your questions using the link on the website, and an appropriate staff member will follow up with you. Tonight, it looks like we have a big topic of masking for the fall. That topic's not on our agenda tonight, so the board won't be discussing it, but we appreciate you guys coming in to take your time to share your thoughts and your concerns with us. The staff team that the board has empowered to make decisions about our reopening procedures will be reviewing all local guidance, assessing feasibility of different mitigation strategies, and reviewing community COVID data prior to communicating a final plan. To communicate the plan, we'll be utilizing Messenger, the website, school newsletters, and all of our normal communication channels to share information. And please know that we appreciate and understand and respect the many different opinions and concerns that we'll be hearing tonight on this topic. We're going to turn it over to our communication manager, who's going to explain our procedures for public comment, and she'll be the one calling up the speakers.
Good evening, everyone. Speakers will be called up in order of form submission. First form received is the first person invited to speak. When your name is called, please come up to the podium so that you can be heard. Your comments will be limited to 3 minutes. A 3-minute timer will be displayed on the screen, and it will start once you are settled at the podium. At any time during this meeting, written comments may be submitted to our recording secretary, Kathy Scafidi, at my right. Because of the large number of people signing up to comment on the same topic this evening, we will allow 45 minutes total for public comment before we suspend public comment so that we can attend to the business on our agenda. We will resume public comment at the end of this meeting for those who have signed up but are unable to speak at the beginning of the meeting. Speakers that concur with past speakers are encouraged to state this for the record without taking any additional time to ensure the maximum number of speakers in that 45 minutes. Speakers should conduct themselves with civility and respect towards everyone else in this room. Comments concerning individual staff members or students are not appropriate, and the use of individual names or identifiable characteristics is prohibited. Our first speaker is Ben Hartman.
Good evening. My name is Ben Hartman, as you said. I'm a 16-year resident of Batavia, father of 2 current BPS 101 students, and proud to say I've worked as a public school teacher for 21 years and counting. Like many others here tonight, I'm speaking to the topic of COVID-19, how our community can see this fight to its end, which we are not at yet. There's an ever-increasing number of studies, peer-reviewed research projects, clinical reports, bodies of evidence that one could cite to support an assertion. These exist for masking, community spread, vaccination, hospitalization, and more. We're all too familiar with them, frankly. To the frustration of interested parties, whatever their stance on the issue, this data often seems to contradict previous or even concurrent data. We've heard that in the last few days. It's complicated, it's evolving, and frankly, it's quite tiring. In preparing to talk to you tonight, I decided not to invoke any of that data, but review one thing we learned last year. Schools that mandate mask wearing as a layered mitigation effort are safer for students, staff, their respective families, and the greater community. Masking helped keep schools among the safest places where larger groups could gather, allowing communities to support all learners in person. Each of us in this room has a story about the day our students, children, nieces, nephews, grandkids, neighbors, the ones at the bus stop you see on your way to work, our students got to return to school, start driver's ed, take football, lacrosse, baseball field, ride the bus, hear a story in the LRC, see their favorite teacher, secretary, speech path, OT, reading specialist, coach, admin, or custodian in person. I mentioned earlier I'm a teacher. I teach 5th grade. I love it. I'm good at it. And while I could tell you how difficult last year was, you know those stories. You lived them too. I'd rather tell you how wonderful it felt to return again to a safe classroom and school, how masking allowed us all to get closer to normal again. Solutions are rarely this clear, nor do they present themselves with the personal prior experience we all had this spring. Masks help keep schools open, healthier, and safer for everyone. Thank you.
Next is Amy Keelian.
Hello. I just want to thank you for hearing our voices tonight. I understand you're in a difficult position to make these decisions for the upcoming school year, but I believe that there is no reason for our kids to be masked in the fall. Masks only work in sterile environments. All the disposable and cloth masks that we have purchased have disclaimers on them that say they don't prevent the spread of viruses. Masks are ineffective and doing more harm than good. My child has a lot of anxiety about entering middle school and being able to make new friends while wearing a mask and not being allowed to be near anyone. My daughter also developed a staph infection on her face this school year from wearing the mask that was very hard to get rid of. I just don't believe healthy people need to be masked. The Illinois Department of Public Health does not control our school boards. The CDC has made recommendations, but there are no government mask mandates or laws that say we have to be masked. We have been enjoying the summer, going to restaurants, concerts, sporting events, stores, and traveling on vacations, not wearing masks. So I don't understand why our kids need to be masked for 7 hours a day. We all just want freedom to make our own decisions for our families. Thank you.
Next, we invite Jodi Carlson.
Hello. I didn't prepare a speech because I believe from speaking from the heart here. Thank you for hearing us. My child also suffered last year wearing the mask. He also got a staph infection on his face. He was falling asleep at his desk. I had to literally pull him out and finish the remote learning. I agree with Amy. Healthy people should not have to be masked. So thank you for hearing our voices. I don't have a lot to say. I think it's pretty simple. We're all sitting here, most of us, without masks, and you're not afraid. I can see you're not afraid. So I find it really interesting that we're sitting here talking about masking our children unmasked. I just don't feel like it's returning our children to any bit of normal. Masking them for 5 days a week, 7 hours a day, it's not healthy. So please consider that. Thank you. Yeah.
Next, we invite Nicole Corley.
Good evening, and thank you for taking the time to hear me speak tonight. My name is Nicole Corley, and I have 2 children in Batavia School District. I'm here today to ask you to follow the many states and even school districts in our area that are following science in regards to children and COVID. I teach in a nearby district, and we were fortunate enough to go every day in person last year for elementary. And we did it with masks and smaller class sizes. And the whole year I had one student that had COVID, no symptoms, and she had gotten it from her father. So she quarantined for 2 weeks with no symptoms. and only receiving the learning that I was able to send per my district. I'm asking to have masks optional for all staff and students. I'm asking that you do not discriminate in any way for students or staff based on vaccination status. I'm asking you not to subject anyone to testing or quarantining unless their health provider suggests it for them as a patient. The data right now in Kane County, well, this was as of July 18th, showed, of course, if it's not manipulated in any way, shows that we had no new cases. Kids have been unmasked all summer long. They have not seen an increase of kids contacting COVID during this time period. We know based on science that children getting COVID is very rare, and if they get it, they do very well. The flu has been way worse for children as far as death rates go, and we have never asked for masks, nor have we asked for vaccination status for the flu shot. Why is that? Why is that? I believe we need to let families make their own choice when it comes to their children and the COVID-19 jab, because it's not really a vaccine. This jab is not FDA approved, and it is not law that anyone receive it. The transmission from child to child and children to adults, again, is very rare. Also, if you look at the CDC website, they have a visual and text about the difference between a surgical mask, cloth mask, and the N95 mask. I ask you to read what it says. If people believe their child should wear a mask, then that is their personal decision. I'm not worried about a child getting picked on from wearing a mask, because if a teacher does their job, then they'll have a conversation about community, respect, and kindness with their class, like they should be doing anyways. Again, a mask is no different than glasses, a medical device that my son has to wear because he's type 1 diabetic, braces, hair color, or anything else that may be unique to a child. If a child is having a problem and a teacher is not holding the other student accountable for their behavior, that falls on the teacher and the administration. Another reason masks should not be worn is that children need to have their faces exposed when reading, doing speech therapy and phonics work. Grades pre-K through 5 are the crucial years for reading, and when a teacher can't evaluate and observe a student speaking, that is detrimental to their learning, especially when learning to read and to speak. As a teacher, we also need to have our mouths and facial expressions exposed. In phonics, if a student is unable to watch and observe their teacher form letters and sounds, or even hear and understand the teacher, they will not be learning correctly. The student is supposed to then respond appropriately. If they are making, oh, I didn't get a warning. Thank you, sorry.
Next, Patricia Edmonds.
Okay. Hi, I'm Patricia Edmonds. When my son was diagnosed with cancer 5 years ago, I had many decisions to make. These decisions did not come lightly. These decisions were made in the best interest of my son, and they were made with my son's doctors. The point I'm trying to make here is I did not consult my son's school, the school board, the superintendent of the school district, my son's teachers, or other parents about his medical decisions. That was between me and our doctors. Today we started this meeting saying the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. This is one flag that we all pledge to, the American flag. This is the symbol of our freedom to make choices. Forcing our children to wear masks strips our smallest U.S. citizens of that right to make a choice, and strips the parents of these children of the right to make the best medical choices for our children. This is the same right that I'm grateful for that I had 5 years ago with my son, and I did not sign up to co-parent with the government or any school district for that matter. My children have enough to worry about with schoolwork, friendships, extracurricular activities. To put on top of them that it is their responsibility to keep others safe by wearing a mask is virtue signaling. Another child's health is not my child's responsibility. My child's health is not another child's responsibility either. If you don't feel safe at this point, with the data showing children are at the least risk, people should keep their kids home or wear a mask if that makes you feel more comfortable. There's a word for all of this. It's called hypochondria, and I'm sure you all know what it means. It's an abnormal anxiety about one's health, especially with an unwarranted fear about one having a serious disease. Our children are not diseased. We cannot continue to teach them that they are diseased humans. Parents who support mask wearing, you cannot continue to force others to do things because you don't feel safe, as we would never force you to unmask your children. That is not how this works. We need to put medical decisions back in the hands of parents where it should have been all along. I'm going to end this with a quote that I read the other day by a woman named Anna Gala. It says, "What is right for you may not be right for me. What is right for me may not be right for you. But what is not right for either of us is being stripped of the freedom to choose what is right for ourselves."
Next, we invite Rebecca Albergo.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Albergo. I am the mom of 2 boys. I have one in elementary and one in middle school. And I'm here today to ask that the board makes masks optional for all students. There should also be no discrimination whatsoever regarding vaccination status and quarantining of healthy students or staff. Well, the wearing of masks has now been shown to be detrimental to a child's emotional and physical development. The clinical studies and articles showing the dangerous effects of masks are overwhelming. There was recent information provided to the public by the American Medical Association warning about the high CO2 levels that occur in children only minutes after wearing a mask. Also, due to concerns about potential risks masks bring to children who wear them throughout the school day, a group of Florida parents submitted their children's face coverings to a lab for examination. Recently, it was found that face masks capture a wide variety of bacteria, many of which are dangerous pathogens, according to researchers. On the masks, 11 dangerous pathogens are responsible for diseases like pneumonia, tuberculosis, meningitis and sepsis, food poisoning from E. coli, diphtheria, Lyme disease, and UTI. There were also a number of less hazardous pathogens discovered, including pathogens that may cause a variety of symptoms such as fever, ulcers, acne, yeast infections, strep throat, periodontal disease, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and others. The masks examined were new or freshly washed before being worn for 5 to 8 hours by children ranging in the ages from 6 to 11, and one of them was a grown-up. One other important topic to bring up is the mental health of our kids that surrounds this. Data released by the CDC found that visits to emergency departments for suspected suicide attempts by adolescent girls are up over 50% in the past year and a half, compared to 2019. Another CDC study found that the proportion of emergency department visits related to mental health were up 24% for kids ages 5 to 11 and 31% ages 12 to 17 between last April and October, compared to 2019. I can go on and on with studies like this, many which are peer-reviewed and replicated, showing the science of how masks don't work and the negative impact they have on our kids. When it comes down to it, masking and the vaccine are medical decisions that should be left to the parents, not school administrators. Again, I'm here to ask that you follow the actual science and at a minimum, let it be parents' choice or mask optional for the upcoming school year. Thank you.
Next, we invite Melissa Blake. Sorry, I couldn't. It's hard to read some, sorry.
All right. Hello. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Melissa Blaha. I have a 5th grader at Batavia Elementary, and I just wanted to speak on behalf of parents and students that like masks to be optional. I don't believe they should be required for K through 12, whether students are vaccinated or not. The CDC did not indicate a mask requirement, and BPS 101 has the ability to make the decision for our students, like many other school districts already have. That includes Oswego, Plainfield, Wheaton, St. Charles, have all our surrounding neighbors are already going mask optional, so there's no reason why we need to tell our children that they have to wear masks when their friends do not. So I'd like the school district to take the authority that they have and make that mask optional for our children, to do the right thing. Also, children are not wearing these in a proper way to prevent disease. Clean masks are probably not being even provided daily from many parents, so our children are walking through school with Petri dishes on their faces every day. Disgusting. So I'm asking to make the mentally and physical healthy choice for our children and for them not to have to wear masks. Thank you.
Next, we invite Mark Peping.
Hi, thank you. My name is Mark Peping. I've been a resident for 16 years. I have 5 kids, only 4 now coming into the school year. And I'm just here to concur with all the other people that spoke about the choice that parents have to take care of their own kids' health and not rely on the government or the school district or the board to determine what that should be. And if there are people that have problems and they feel it's safer to stay at home, then they should go ahead and do that. We all have a choice to make, and if our kids are, have a good, healthy immune system, then they shouldn't be forced to have on these masks. Over the last year and a half, I've seen a startling change with my own kids in the way that their personalities have changed. I have all teenagers, and the lockdown alone, that's separate, but even the masking, they've lost the sparkle. The kids are not they're not happy anymore. And if you can't see other kids smiling, and if you can't hear the other kids, you can't see them talking, you can't see any expressions. I know I'm not a teacher, but I know that as a teacher, you must feel like you can't connect with kids when you can't see their faces, and you don't know if they're confused or they're questioning anything. I'm not really sure what the purpose is, or what are we protecting? Are we trying to protect against things that we learned in kindergarten? When I was little, we learned to wash our hands and sneeze into our elbow and inside your shirt or something. Now we're asking for our masks to do the jobs for us? Do you really see people sneezing into the mask? I mean, grown adults are pulling it down and sneeze into the air and then they pull it back up, That's how it goes. And so I'm not sure what the real purpose here is. This is not beneficial to our kids. They're getting mentally challenged, and they're having a hard time breathing. I can't go for an hour wearing the thing, and as adults we can take it on and off. Here we all are sitting without a mask on, but if we have to go to Costco or Jewel or Menards or Home Depot or something where they were requiring it, you've got to put it on. You take it off when you get in the car. But the kids are there all day long, 8 hours a day, and the developing brains having a restriction of oxygen, and they're trying to learn. They can't hear. They're too scared to speak up and say, "I don't know what you're saying, teacher." I just think it's a bad decision, and we should be allowed to make our own choices. Thank you.
Eliana Landgreb.
Hi, I'm Eliana. I'm going into 7th grade. I don't think masks are a good thing, and I'm going to give up my time to my mom.
Hi, I would like to present a little bit different perspective on this whole mask issue. Arbeit macht frei, says the gate in Auschwitz Holocaust Museum in my hometown. Before Holocaust happened, Nazi Germany released propaganda movies portraying Jews as disease-spreading rats to ensure general population support segregation, creation of ghettos, and essentially concentration camps. If you haven't seen them, I encourage you to find the Eternal Jew movie on YouTube. Today, our own government portrays our beautiful children choosing to breathe freely as health danger to society. We shouldn't have to have this messy discussion here today. It is our God-given right to freely breathe. Unfortunately, those who are supposed to represent us are complicit to the crimes taking place right now, just as the German soldiers were complicit to the horrible crimes against humanity. My family members risked their lives to help prisoners in the camp. Therefore, I will not sit quiet. I will not be politically correct, as the political correctness brought us exactly to this point, where we are no longer free. Yes. This whole COVID propaganda is a communist at its best. Yes. At no point we elected our official to worry about our health, but rather to protect our constitutional freedoms. Yes. Yet almost every public official at federal, state, and local levels pretends it's not his fault. They're just following orders, and they're here to help, right? Well, SS soldiers did exactly the same thing. They were just following orders and exterminating what they considered a threat. There's absolutely no evidence that if you try to convince yourself that there is. You're simply shutting down your moral compass to protect your own job, and you can care less about our kids. Therefore, I ask you, what exactly do you follow? Because this is surely not science. Masks don't work. The size of a virus and this mask structure is comparable to sand being thrown through a chicken wire fence. Even flip-flopping fraud Fauci wrote a paper describing the main cause of deaths were masks during Spanish flu. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, that's because you're following the propaganda on mainstream media instead of doing your own research. I can supply you with hundreds of hours of videos of medical professionals, scientists, former military, and government officials speaking the truth about the masks, vaccinations, and so much more. Your big TV will not show you that. Your friends might have tried, but you either ignore them or they were banned by social media. Just today, I was banned from Facebook for another 30 days for posting an official recording of your politicians speaking and accidentally admitting that vaccines are killing people. Thousands of people have died from this jab, and a lawsuit is filed already. Yet there's absolute silence on your ABC and CNN. But God forbid your favorite restaurant caused the death to one person, right? The media would be all over them. Not to mention a cop killing a criminal. Masks are simply a control tool to see how far your compliance will go. According to FDA, face masks, including cloth masks, are considered medical devices, and according to Nuremberg Code, they require informed consent. Please hear me here loud and clear. Coercion is not a consent. You are performing medical experiments on our children by mandating mask wearing. And you're violating our constitutional rights in International Nuremberg Code. A year and a half ago, I said that masks would be mandatory. I was called a conspiracy theorist because this would never happen in this country, right? Not in America. Last week, I had to go through an argument with 3 nurses, a doctor, 2 security officers threatening me with a police, and a hospital administrator to get my son's fractured arm in a cast. They had absolutely no problem standing and arguing with me without a mask. Every single one of them. But they just couldn't put that cast on him. That makes sense, right? You are doing exactly the same. There is no logic or science behind masks. Actually, there is plenty of evidence that masks cause harm. You need to stop pretending that you have no choice, because you do. Last year, this very school district allowed unacceptable bullying of a child who chose not to wear a mask. You failed to protect him, and instead, you segregated him from the rest of the students who called him a grandma killer. He is my friend's best friend, and I'm outraged that this took place in our school. This needs to end right now. Do not be the Gestapo following orders, and please do what is right. Otherwise, what is the limit? Where do you stop? What else will you enforce and follow because you were told to do so? I am here tonight. However, I will likely not send my children to your school next year. I'm considering homeschooling because your actions are concerning, and I have no trust that what will happen to my child when someone needs to follow the next order.
Thank you. And next we invite Beth Kopeck.
Okay, I'm just here because I have 2 children in the Batavia School District. I'd like to make masks optional. I have a daughter entering kindergarten who has some speech obstacles to overcome. She needs to have the teacher be able to see her mouth and see her expressions and work through all that. We know the masks don't work. We know the children are not affected by COVID. We need to make the decision of the mask in the hands of the parents rather than the school board or the school or the government. Thank you.
Next, we invite Isabella Irish.
My speech is a little different. It doesn't really have to do with masks, so. Okay, so my name is Isabella Irish. I'm a former student at Batavia High School of class of 2020. During my 4 years of high school, I was systematically oppressed by the people who were supposed to protect and aid me on my way to college. In my experience, I was held back by not only the school, but also the school board and also the faculty at my school. When I was struggling with mental health issues, I was turned away. When I didn't want to read a book that said the N-word, I was told to get over it. When I was called a monkey and the N-word by my peers, I was told to just eat in the office so I wouldn't hear it. Those are my experiences and common experiences of those attending BHS even today. And for people not to acknowledge it is ignorant and shows that Batavians would rather ignore it than deal with it. In addition, I would like to look back to the last board meeting where a speaker applauded the school board for helping to diversify the school system that we have in place. I believe no applause should be warranted. Teachers, students, and former students are not happy with the present or past curriculum at Batavia High School. The school board itself not only lacks diversity, but it also lacks an understanding of the people that they are providing to. BHS students who are of color deserve a curriculum that doesn't benefit from Black suffering. BHS students who are of color deserve to learn about their history in a way that doesn't make them feel like they're reliving ancestral trauma repeatedly. BHS students of color deserve to have a school that celebrates them instead of covering them up like they're not even there. And BHS students of color deserve to have the same resources and advantages that their white peers do. BHS students of color also deserve to have a faculty that represents them. As a former BHS student, I largely felt underrepresented by the staff and faculty at my school. I asked the parents of present Batavia students, what scares you so much about your child being racially sensitive and respectful of their peers? I asked, do you truly believe that your children are not actively oppressing the people of color in their class, or are you just choosing to ignore it? Critical race theory is not an ideology that is used to brainwash kids. At Batavia High School, there's a 30% difference in proficiency of people of color and white kids. Batavia High School is doing the exact opposite of what critical race theory wants to prevent. There's a huge divide among white kids and people of color, and many are choosing to ignore it. Critical race theory is not a Marxist ideology. In the last board meeting, a speaker compared critical race theory to Marxist ideology. That is a cop-out to protect white children from feeling uncomfortable, and is often used as a scare tactic to prevent schools from teaching about race in a healthy way. What I most want to see happen at BHS is an influx of diversity and knowledge. Children of color deserve to learn from people that understand them. The struggle that Black kids have had their entire lives regarding racism has been pushed under the rug and ignored in Batavia for years. I beg of you as the board to take into consideration of these things and make changes that don't just benefit one, but all children that attend Batavia High School. Thank you.
Next, we invite Tricia Barbiere.
Hi, my name is Max Barbiere. I'm going into 6th grade. Wearing a mask should be a choice, not forced. Wearing a mask all day is hot, gross, and hard to breathe. I'm sick of getting yelled at to pull your mask up over your nose. Put your mask on. I was even bullied at school for taking my mask off at recess outside, more than 6 feet away from anyone else, because I couldn't breathe in the heat. Take the masks off of us.
All right. Thank you for the time today, and thank you for all that has been done over the past 16 months to keep the kids into school. Unless we too become part of the statistic of the Illinois exodus, I have 2 children that could potentially be returning to the Batavia schools, one going into 2nd and one going into 6th. As I stated before, this has been going on for 16 months. Enough is enough. There are parents throughout the state that are coming together in order to represent our children. I'm part of a parent union that has well over 9,000 members. We have all been attending each other's school board meetings in support of unobstructed breathing. For this reason, I know that as the board, you have the ability to make these decisions and make masks optional. St. Charles voted 7-0 for optional last night. Hundreds of other boards across the state are doing the same. Let's be honest. You aren't going to please everyone in every decision you make, but it is clear to me that on this rule you can. Students can wear a mask if they prefer. Students don't need to wear a mask if they don't want to. It's that simple. There should be no discrimination of students or staff regarding masking or vaccination status, as well as quarantining healthy people. The Batavia School Board, the legally elected governing body for the district, maintains the right to make the decision regarding staff and students. I'm asking you to make those difficult decisions you are elected to do. Breathing is a basic human right. My kids' medical decisions shouldn't be in the hands of the school board or superintendent. As a parent, I make those decisions. Masks in school are a major threat to children's development. It ignores the essential needs of a growing child. The well-being of children and young people is highly dependent on emotional connection with others. Masks create a threatening and unsafe environment where personal connection becomes difficult. Just recently, I was at Costco with my 7-year-old daughter. As we were walking out, someone was waving at her from the customer service counter. I looked down at her sitting in the cart, and I said, "Your principal's waving at you, say hi." Her response to me, "That's her?" She's never seen her face. What does that tell you? Over the last 16 months, our children have been put through shutdowns, online learning, fear of being around friends, separation from family, vacations canceled, erased birthday parties, and obstructive breathing at school. My son received serious bullying for removing his mask outside at recess because the COVID circle had been mowed away. We have managed to make these children believe that grandma is going to die if we don't have our mask on. This is an unprecedented time. We have never masked America, shut down businesses and schools, and pushed the vaccine like we are today. This is your chance to change the course, return the kids to school, normal education. Lastly, I advocate for our teachers to have the same right. This is a public school, and teachers are paid by our tax dollars. Allow teachers to teach without a mask, whether they are vaccinated or not.
Next, we invite Toni Conway, or Conroy, sorry.
Hello, dear members of the board. The expert of my children is not Governor Pritzker, not the CDC, not the Illinois Health Department, and frankly, it's not you. It's, as a mother, I am the expert of my children. My children's health is my greatest responsibility. With my motherly intuition, prayers, and my own research based on my children's medical history and their doctors, I will make decisions that govern the health of my children. The ability to decide if a child should take part in uncharted medical experiments such as masks, testing, and vaccines should be up to each individual parent. Health choices and consent should not be taken away from any parent. It is my sincere hope that Batavia High School will return to school for face-to-face instruction with no masks. Masks should be a personal choice, not a requirement. There is simply no research providing masks are safe for children, but they certainly will impede learning and continue to impede learning and destroy the joy of coming to school. To decide the medical decisions of the children in Batavia is simply government overreach. To create separate policies for the vaccinated versus unvaccinated will create issues with medical privacy and medical discrimination. Children want to fit in. They do not want to be segregated or labeled. To do so will open up medical privacy issues and discrimination. We can't punish the unvaccinated to force them into vaccines. That is not consent. That is medical coercion and bullying. Can you imagine a world where you're forced to make medical decisions you believe will harm your children? Let's not make that the world this community has to live in. Please vote for parental choice. Let's make masks optional, the new normal. Thank you.
Next, we invite Jennifer Delaney.
I wanted to explain, we moved here a year ago. We heard a lot about the district. I was excited to get my children into a good district. My daughter did not get the reading that she needed at her previous school. I was talked to the principal about a reading specialist, and then COVID hit. They did have her go in there and have a reading specialist. However, as I listened into some of the meetings, she tried to read with a mask on. And the reading specialist couldn't understand her. I said, can she take her mask off so you can understand her and help her pronounce the words? No, we can't do that. So now I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on a tutor to help my daughter learn after I have her in this district that I was hoping could get her, moving up to be, going into fourth grade. So, she's with a tutor. She, can pronounce words. She can do all that. I want her this year to be able to look at her teacher and be able to pronounce the word, be able to have the teacher understand her, be able to communicate, not have a mask and try to, speak through the mask. I want her to have the option to take off that mask and learn to read even further. So I hope it's optional. Thank you.
Next, we invite Eric Klein.
My name's Eric Klein, and I have two children, school-aged children here in Batavia. Thank you, board, for listening to all of us talk. And I would presume that we really don't have this many people at many of your board meetings. And so I think that might tell us something. As much as we have entrusted you guys with helping us to educate our kids and to formulate policies and things like that, I think one of the things that I see here tonight is that there's a lot of other people that look at the science too. And it's really interesting to me the different opinions that we're coming up with. I think if we're really looking at the science, I think we really know what's the right answer. So the only thing I'm going to say is, and this is the thing, all the ladies that have gone, no offense, Mark, and Ben, I might disagree with you, but I love you like a neighbor. But the thing is, what all the other ladies have said here tonight, I can't articulate it any better than that. So my only last thing I wanted to say to you is that it seems like we always have this point where we can really convey the majority of the consensus of our town. But yet somehow the end ends up being different than that. So I'm really hoping that at the end of this, and when we get to a decision, it's not going to be a surprise to any of us, because I think it's going to be pretty clear. That's it. Thank you, guys. And
next, we invite Richard Lyricos.
All right, so I am a respiratory therapist for pediatrics in the home. So I go to children's homes that are on ventilators. Now, 75 million people in America are under the age of 18, and only almost 400 people die from COVID under that age. Now, we don't have to protect for that 400 out of 775 million people. What we need to protect is the teachers, and we have a way to do that. I do it for work. You get vaccinated, and you can put on an N95 mask. These masks that people are wearing, I have never worn those into a room where somebody had a respiratory infection, ever. I've always had the N95 or something more, but these masks that we're putting on our children are not going to block anybody from COVID. Otherwise, COVID would already be at zero. So it is not, and COVID is never going to zero. We do appreciate the teachers. The biggest influences for my kids have been teachers. I have friends that are teachers, and we appreciate you, but we want you to protect yourselves with a vaccine, with an N95 mask, not force that on children who are not dying from this. 900 people died from pneumonia. We are not working to protect that 900 people. Why are we trying to protect the 400 out of 75 million? The numbers don't add up. And people are getting on two sides like, you don't care about teachers. We do. We just want you to do what the medical field is doing. We have never turned anybody away because they weren't vaccinated or because we didn't know if they were vaccinated. Every day we go into situations in homes, we don't know who's there. There's more than to be expected. We ask them, do you have COVID? A lot of them say they don't know or they're not tested, but we still go in and do our job. If the teachers are concerned about that, they can get vaccinated, and then they can wear the N95 mask. The mask for the children, that is not the issue. We're trying to protect the people that are going to get hurt from COVID. The older people, they get vaccinated. They wear N95 masks, not the kids that aren't dying from it. I will save my time for the next person. Thank you.
We are approaching the 45-minute time limit. So we ask that if you would please keep your statements a little bit shorter, or we'll be asking you to stay to the end of the meeting to finish your statements. Cecilia Johnson.
Hello, everyone. Respectfully, I would like to address the board members to ensure my family voices are fully heard. My name is Cecilia Johnson, and I have 3 children in the school district at Hoover Wood, 2 of whom are moving on to Rotolo Middle School this fall. We support families' individual right to choose what is best for their children's physical and physiological health. Medical decisions, including masks, should be a private family decision. We also do not support segregating students in a visually identifiable way by masking a portion of them. My concern is intentionally segregating kids in school with masks could perpetuate fear and hate. In my home, my children have experienced increased anxiety about attending school while wearing masks. One of my kids suffers from allergies, and wearing a mask makes it more difficult to breathe while in the classroom. My other child has developed face rashes from wearing a mask, as our pediatrician explained. For younger students, such as mine, who have a hard time wearing masks properly, it can result in added responsibility for teachers and disruption in the classroom. In an October 2020 PubMed study of over 25,000 children, parents, doctors, and teachers in Germany were asked to record their observations and experiences with masks. According to data reported by the parents, the average time per day for mask wearing was 4.5 hours. The negative effects reported by the parents included irritability, 60%, headache, 53%, difficulty concentrating, 50%, less happiness, 49%, reluctance to go to school, 44%, among other effects. Also, as noted in a recent report in the Wall Street Journal on July 8th, just this month, children's risks of death or serious illness from COVID-19 remain extremely low. According to the research, children continue not to be the transmission drivers of the COVID-19 pandemic. The benefit of masks in preventing the spread of a virus such as SARS-CoV-2, the respiratory person said it, it measures 0.125 microns is questionable. According to the U.S. National Academy of Science, in community settings, face masks are not designed or certified to protect the wearer from exposure to respiratory hazards. According to Dr. Jenny Harris, Deputy Chief Medical Officer in England, wearing masks can actually increase the risk of contracting the virus because the virus can potentially be trapped in the material since it's wet and cause infection when the person inhales. She states the public should not wear masks unless they're sick and only if advised to do so by a healthcare provider. Children's needs should be looked at in the context of their development, academically, socially, emotionally, and physically. Wearing masks is impairing their full potential in the learning environment. Please consider allowing optional masks for my family and families and children in our community. Thank you.
Next, we invite Jennifer Nevins.
Thank you. I'm just going to be really brief because we had so many great speakers today. My name is Jennifer, and I have a student at Batavia High School, and I am also the director of an alternative school in Naperville. And our students, a lot of whom are special needs, when the end of the school day comes, they rip off those masks and they throw them on the floor. And what I am instructed to do, and my teachers are instructed to do, is get hazmat gloves and our special medical waste receptacle, pick up those masks while wearing a mask and put them inside, roll it up, and put it out as hazardous waste. And why is that? Because they are disgusting. They are petri dishes, as people have already explained, and they are actually considered hazardous waste by the city of Naperville. And they come by and they pick it up. But yet, all day long, we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds running around with these masks on their faces. And they're not clean. They've been on them for 6, 7 hours. And so I'm not saying anything that people here don't know. It's just from my personal experience, it is so gross and it's so wrong. And this is in the name of health. There's nothing healthy about it. Okay, nothing. I also want to say I'm very concerned with the CDC's guidance that says that if a student is vaccinated, they don't have to wear a mask. But if a student is not vaccinated, they do. My daughter, myself, and my husband, we all had COVID. We were sick for about a week, weren't hospitalized, we were sick. And my daughter and my husband and I have antibodies that the Cleveland Clinic, not a small little medical organization, but the Cleveland Clinic says we are as immune, if not more immune, than somebody who had the vaccine. Therefore, my daughter, when she returns to school, is not going to be wearing a mask if the criteria is that you have to have this vaccine, because it's as good, if not better, than her having the vaccine. It's nonsense. It's just nonsense. We have to look at antibodies for students as well. I'm not in favor of anybody having to wear a mask. But if the rule is going to be that you need to be vaccinated, and we're going to follow the science, whatever the CDC or Fauci declares as science while ignoring everybody else who talks about science, then we have to take a look at people who have natural immunity and who've acquired natural immunity. And on that note, I know there's some talk about teachers being vaccinated. I'm a teacher. My husband's a teacher in the public schools. I hope that you're not going to require that teachers are vaccinated to teach. Whatever your views on these vaccines are, I put that in air quotes, that's up to you. Everybody here needs to do their own research. It is not FDA approved. We are not lab rats. We are not guinea pigs. We do not, educators do not need to put a substance in their veins to do what they love doing, which is teaching our children. Thank you.
And now invited is Tessa. Sorry, I can't read the last name, sorry.
What's your last name?
My name is Tessa Lejec. I am 13 years old. I will be going into 8th grade. I also have a younger brother who is 9 going into fourth grade, actually. My question is, can we ever get normal sick anymore? It's everything COVID. My brother went to the nurse because he had a headache one day, which is normal. You usually send them back to class, maybe get a drink of water. It will go away. No, he had to get sent home, get quarantined for 2 weeks, and not only him, but me and my mom and my dad. It gets annoying, and if the masks work, why do I have to quarantine if someone around me has COVID? Now, I would not like to return to school having to wear masks because I couldn't breathe. I always had a headache. I would have to call up my mom, say, I have a headache, Mom. I don't know if I can survive the day. She's like, just take down your mask if you need to breathe. If they say something, have them talk to me. And I'm glad that you're letting us speak because it really needs to be heard. And that's about it. Thanks.
Normally be our BPS partners, but Todd Swanson's not here tonight, so we're going to jump in for board member committee updates, but I am actually not sure if anyone's had a committee meeting. Anyone?
No.
Nope. I did not think so. Apparently we get to pretend like we have the summer off. The next item on our agenda is our consent agenda. I'm not sure who's taking us through that. Brad is. So Dr. Newkirk will take us through our consent agenda, which is our opportunity to address a number of routine business items. All of those items are detailed in the board book, and it gives us an opportunity to take one vote for all of those routine items. Dr. Newkirk, if you could take us through that.
Sure. 4.1 is the approval of the June 22nd regular board meeting, our last meeting. 4.2 is the personnel report as we prepare for the start of school. 4.3 is our monthly payroll and bills. 4.4 is the destruction of the closed session recordings as time has elapsed on keeping those. There's a number of technology items. 4.5 is the approval of the Forecast 5 subscription for data and analytics. 4.6 is the Cisco Flex. 4.7 is the Microsoft renewal license. 4.8 is VMware renewal. 4.9 is the disposal of some Chromebooks that are in excess. 4.10 is the approval of renting storage space. 4.11 is the approval of the student parent handbooks, which are updated online. And then 4.12 is the approval of the consent agenda.
All right, are there any items on the consent agenda tonight for removal or clarification? All right, they're all pretty routine. Then I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Meadows, second by Locke. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, consent agenda is approved. The next item on our agenda is our reports. I will hand that over to Dr. Hitchens.
The first report is our Freedom of Information Act requests that have been responded to in the last 30 days. So those are required to be presented for your information. The second report is the treasurer's report. So I would entertain any questions on either of those two monthly reports that you review. So then the third report is our FY22 tentative budget, which Toni has presented already. And that's next on our agenda.
So,
I know you did.
You look surprised about the budget.
are we doing this tonight? Oh, okay. By way of timeline, we present the tentative budget for public display here this evening, at which the community can review the budget, and we hold a public hearing at the board's regular meeting in August, and we will approve the final budget for fiscal year 2022 at the board's regular meeting in September. In terms of what's different than what you saw last month in the preview, there's more detail provided in this budget. We're getting details on all of the spending objects, more details on salaries and benefits and services, supplies, those sorts of things, and also more detailed accounting of the spending in each individual fund. What's changed here is we're projecting a surplus of $1.3 million, which is more than what we were projecting before, and that's from the incorporation of federal relief funds. Of that $1.3 million surplus, about $1 million of it goes into the capital projects fund, so it's not considered operating, and that's to offset the cost that the board is investing into HVAC upgrades at the middle school and at the high school, which are projects that are already currently underway. So that certainly helps a lot. In addition, there's some changes in terms of salaries and benefits. You'll see bigger than normal increases there, and that's primarily due to two factors. One, there were a number of positions that went unfilled in the prior year due to the pandemic and our inability to hire folks into those positions, although they were open, vacant, and authorized, that we were just unable to fill them, and we got through the year. And also, we're hiring more positions for the new kindergarten enrichment program, so that's primarily driving the increases for salaries and benefits over the prior year. Beyond that, I think everything else is the same, although I will tell you that based on information that I've learned in the past week, there are additional funding streams that we can expect, both federal and state, and we're in the process of incorporating those into the budget, and we'll share those with you in August. So I do expect that surplus to increase more than it is now.
But those streams are not going to be...
They're one-time funds.
Right. So we can't count on...
Not money that we can bank on in the future, unfortunately, but certainly a help to us in terms of responding to this pandemic and other measures that we need to undertake here in Batavia.
So I would just like to make sure we don't allocate it to salaries or things that ongoing.
Are recurring.
Recurring things. Does that make sense? Because then it has to keep going.
So more to come. Any questions that you have? All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Toni.
Thank you.
Joanne's here for the next one.
Is it unfortunate? We do have Dr. Smith here to talk to us about the class of 2021.
Hi, thank you for every year letting me come and celebrate our graduates. This is always a really fun kind of closure to that graduating class. So lots and lots of work on your end turns into, one last report for me for those students. So it's very exciting. You have the report in front of you. I won't walk you through every single section of it, but a couple of highlights I wanted to point out, and then certainly any questions you may have. One area that I think is that we're really proud of that we continue to work on is the post-secondary experiences for our students to make sure that we're setting them up for success as they leave Batavia High School. So that's kind of a multifaceted approach that we take to that. Obviously, a lot of our students do go to college. Approximately 85% in that neighborhood go to college after they leave Batavia High School. But many of our students do other plans, including workplace experiences, vocational schools, military, and things like that. So one area that we are very proud of is our dual credit enrollment. And so if you take a look at the dual credit section of the report, and I'll give Holly a second to get there. Thank you. Sorry, right there. This is one area that we've spent a lot of time and effort in staff professional development to increase. We know that sometimes post-secondary experiences for some of our students are unattainable because of resources. It's just very expensive to go to college. And so one way that we could potentially help with that is to provide them with the opportunity to get some dual credit. So what that can look like is taking what would be the traditional like English 101 class while they're at Batavia High School with Batavia High School teachers, but at the same time earning Waubonsie community credit. So for example, if a student took the English 101 class, they actually earn 6 college credits before they leave Batavia High School, just for that one class alone. And many of our students take far more than just one dual credit class. But we had 1,069 enrollments in dual credit last year, which is about 70%, which means about 70% of our seniors got dual credit before they left. Again, many took more than one dual credit class, which is why it's over 1,000. But that alone earns students so much, a kind of leg up on their classmates, on their peers when they get to a post-secondary school. Waubonsie credits through us cost about $50 per credit, which is nothing compared to, as I'm sure many of you who are saving for college, as I am, and got the bill today for next fall. I can tell you it is much, much more than $50 per credit. So it is really exciting. That's something we're really proud of. And we continue to look at opportunities to expand this program. It does require our teachers to have a certain level of education and schooling beyond their bachelor's degree. So it's not something we can easily add, but we do make it a priority and hopefully continue to expand that program. And then a couple other options there too are through our Fox Valley Career Center. We do have students who attend Fox Valley Career Center and earn either certifications or that dual credit right through Fox Valley. And then some of those students actually are actually eligible to take those certification or exams. So if you see there's some criteria. Sorry, Holly, if you could go on to those bullets. There's a few criteria for students who go to Fox Valley in terms of what kind of post-secondary credit they can earn. But many of our students do earn that through Fox Valley Career Center, which is a great opportunity for many of our students. So we appreciate the support that you guys give us to spend that money on that tuition, because it isn't necessarily inexpensive, but very helpful for many of our students. I would welcome any questions that you guys have.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Do we have any data on the AP classes, and is the dual credit impacting that?
It is, actually. The AP testing we don't get that data until later this month, so we
think
will
it's
share that
tomorrow,
maybe tomorrow. Yeah. So we'll share that with you in the fall. But we do have fewer students taking AP tests because many of our AP classes are also offered as dual credit. So I'll give you an example. Our AP psychology class, students can take that for an AP credit. In other words, they have to take the class and then sign up for the test and take the test. Or they could take it as a dual credit class and earn that credit directly without taking the AP test. So it's a decision for many students, and many students are taking that dual credit route instead of the AP credit route, which makes sense.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have a particular question, it's just a comment.
Sure.
I have a student that's in college right now, and he took advantage of a number of the dual credits, and as a kid who had difficulties sometimes taking tests and anxiety, the dual credit route was a good way for him to get the credits without having fear of having a bad day.
Taking an AP test, right.
As
yeah.
an AP test.
Yeah.
Additionally, while a lot of people look at it as an opportunity for their kids to potentially graduate early, and many of them are, but it also helps an opportunity for kids to kind of have a lesser load at school so they can succeed or take advantage of other opportunities like student government, clubs, associations, groups, working a job, whatever else, that when I was going to school, I didn't have that opportunity. So I appreciate it, and I really like having those opportunities for the kids to be a part of it. also from a, as well as the accreditation and certification process as well. So thank you.
Thank you. And this may be to you or Brad, is the automotive technology and the welding students that got the the Wabanzi credit, is that part of that class that we did over at Wabanzi with the mentoring? So it's
That's
something separate, okay.
And we had 10 students that were part of an inaugural program that the board authorized us to work with Wabanzi. And it's really a dual enrollment situation with those students because they're dually enrolled in Batavia High School and in Wabanzi. So they have coursework that is staggered to their schedule. Wabanzi is really a great partner for us because most community colleges won't do that. But they schedule it so that our students can go to Wabanzi, take classes that get them jump-started in an associate's degree for advanced manufacturing. So students can go into advanced manufacturing, they can use those credits to go into HVAC careers.
That's what
many of these very needed careers. If you drive down Redant Road, you'll see a lot of flags flying. They need employees, and this would give our students a great advantage and oftentimes greater earning potential for some of those careers. So we're
Okay.
really excited about that inaugural year, and we'll have another cohort start next year.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean, I just wanted to make sure I was looking at the right numbers.
And Brad makes a good point, and that's one thing that I think we should remember to be grateful for. Wabanzi's been an amazing partner to us, and not every community college and not every high school has that opportunity to partner that same way. So,
Yeah, that's been it's been a great relationship, and they're always willing to work with us, especially in the recent year without, SAT scores necessarily to guide our dual credit enrollment. They've been very flexible and accommodating to our students. So we are very grateful for that relationship, and not all of my peers have the same with their local
Well, and you
community
mentioned
colleges.
this, even the dual credit versus the AP, and this might even, it's such a bargain even for the AP class or test at, I think, what is it, $95 or $99, but cost is a factor sometimes, and the dual credits at $50 or what it is, cheaper, is a bargain. So
I'm also grateful that we give our students that choice, because I know a lot of students who like to stretch themselves with that rigor, and the fact that we don't require them to take the AP test for many of the reasons that Craig mentioned. And some students, again, just want to stretch themselves but don't want to have to take a test. And I'm really proud that we don't require that. We're really all about the learning and not about fake credentials, which I appreciate. Any other questions on our reports tonight? All right, we have 2 items for action tonight. The first one is the approval and purchase of installation of audio and video equipment. I will get that out. And I'm not honestly sure who's presenting that tonight.
I will. This is a simple one. It's fixed visual equipment and then movable audio equipment and wireless audio equipment for this boardroom. The audio equipment that we do have, the wireless system, the frequency has been reclaimed by the FCC, so we can't use it anymore. And by installing the video equipment, we'll be able to, it'll be easy for us to stream these meetings as we have done in recent years with the COVID pandemic. So we'll also be able to control the audio visual, like the presentation screen with a couple of buttons, and it'll be pretty easy to use. So.
Okay. Questions on that? All right, then I would entertain a motion to approve the purchase and installation of sound and video equipment by Technical Theater Systems for a total project cost of $34,960.37.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Locke, second by Meadows. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next item on the agenda is policy updates. I'll hand that over to Dr. Hitchens. I'm assuming you're taking us through that?
Yes, and last month we looked at our first policy that we're going to talk about tonight. We will vote on that policy, and then there's a whole nother giant policy bundle that's coming your way that we'll talk about second. So but you're not voting on that part tonight. So we're going to start with the part that you are voting on, and that would be policy 6065. And we presented it for first reading last month, and I haven't had any feedback about those changes being something the feedback that I've gotten is that these are the correct changes that you would like to adopt. So we subscribe to a policy service. It's if you wanted to click into it, it's the one at the bottom, the 6065. And this would bring us up to speed with what they're recommending, but also our current practices and our focus on social emotional development. So this policy has existed for the board, it just has been a while since we have updated it. So this brings us up to our current practice and what's recommended by our through our press subscription. So questions on that one? I think this is a really nice policy that guides the work that we are very committed to.
So do you want us to vote on that,
Yeah.
and then we'll talk about the other ones?
Let's just vote on that, and then we'll move to the bigger part.
All right, I would entertain a motion that we adopt policy 6065 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Locke, second by Lowe. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And Dr. Higgins, tell us about the bundle coming our way.
Sure, it's actually called a press bundle that comes from the Illinois Association of School Boards, and they say, here's the policies that you should be updating. And so that press bundle was several hundred pages long this month, and these are the policies that I believe we should be focused on at this time. And we bring them to you for a first reading. I had a couple board members I know that spent their weekend really digging deep and making sure that that these are nice and tidy, and I know that Chris definitely did his homework and gave a couple suggestions. They were really non-substantive, I would say, and so
Typos.
yeah, I'll go ahead and make those changes, but they weren't to the substance. But Eagle Eye Chris did point them out, and then I would entertain any other questions about those policies. There's quite a few there. I don't know if there's any that you specifically want to look at or talk through, but some of them are required updates due to changing legislation. Some of them are just, the press service that we subscribe to just reviews the policies every 5 years. Every policy gets looked at by these attorneys, and then they say, hey, we should, clean this one up a little. Maybe some of the references or footnotes have changed, and so some of them are just those cleanups, and some of them are in response to some new school code.
No questions? Don't forget, we do have the opportunity to look at them in further depth and discuss them, any concerns or thoughts, either before the next meeting or at the next meeting.
And the procedures then are quite lengthy as well, and those we don't bring back for a second reading because they're not required for you to adopt them. These are the ways, your policy is the way, your direction that you're giving us, and then the procedures are how we implement that direction. And so they don't require approval, but once we do implement these, then Kathy Scafidi over there gets busy making the updates on the policy on the website, and then she also keeps a current table of all of the recent changes so that we can work with our principals and all of our staff and whoever needs to know about the changes to make sure that they're implemented correctly. So you won't see those again next week or next month unless you bring me any concerns about any of the procedures. Otherwise, I'll just bring back the policies.
What happens if we don't like the policy?
If you don't, these are your policies, so this is how the
this
board
one's all ours,
governs.
This isn't the stuff from the state.
No, it is the stuff from the state, but
Recommendation.
we could change any policy if we have a discomfort or we have a different practice.
Okay.
That's something we can discuss at our meeting, and then we have had in the past certain policies that we have altered.
Yeah. Now, if you're talking about if we don't like the legislation that's been passed, we don't have a whole lot of flexibility there, but.
No, I'm talking about any policy.
Yeah, any policy,
Yeah.
it is really your words and your
Okay.
direction for the community, and so
All right.
you're
That was
allowed.
a good question, thanks, RJ. We
Yeah.
kind of forget sometimes that
Thank you.
that we don't all
We
have
haven't all been
lots and
doing
lots of
policy for
experience
15
doing
years.
policy for years.
Well, I'm excited again.
Yep. That's what people always say about the policy. So we did vote on the one piece, so I
Yep,
don't.
and if you don't have any other questions, then again, we'll bring those back next month. So We have a month to look at them, and then we can discuss them again at our next meeting. Those are all of our action items tonight. The next item would be administration comments.
Sure, so one of the policies that was actually in this latest update is policy 130. So chapter 1 of our policy book really talks about our philosophy and just how we organize as a district. It's a very short chapter, but the most important because it is the board's vision for this district. And so policy 130 just says we have a strategic plan and this is how we roll. And so the board has been looking at their strategic plan, and this strategic plan is something that you have asked us to collect more information on. The tactics that are included within our, we obviously have goals for student growth, student learning. We have some financial goals as a board, and we also have goals to maintain and retain and train and develop our quality staff. And those goals have existed, and some of this board, in the last few years has added a couple priorities that you said were important. And there's 3 strategies that you said we want you to really develop. And one of them is authentic learning experiences, which, some of it ties in with what you were talking about with our, that manufacturing cohort came out of that strategy. And so that authentic learning experiences are designed to help, increase student engagement and just facilitate our students to be prepared for after they leave our system by making sure that what they're learning is authentic, from discussions in the classrooms to some of those specialized programs that we offer. The second strategy that you have prioritized is early learning opportunities for pre-K through first grade, because we know how important those foundational years are. And the board, because you made it a priority, we have greatly expanded pre-K in our community. And for next year, for the first time, we have taken back that full-day kindergarten experience for students because you've made that a priority. And the third priority, in no order, is fostering an inclusive and welcoming culture for all students. And the rationale for you choosing that one, it's been about 2 years. We want BPS to be a destinations district for students by ensuring that our system is inclusive and welcoming. Solid social emotional learning standards and a systematic approach to equitable practices will help identify barriers that any student has to their learning and growing. So that is something that you value. And your most recent direction to us is to, we do collect data about all of these, and we have a dashboard because our students are more than just a test score. So we have a very robust dashboard where we try to align to see how we're doing. But you have said to us, we need more voice. So that will be the next part. We'll be bringing this back to you in August to talk about how we're going to make sure that we have representative voice and to see how we're doing with our priorities. So that's coming in August, and that was just a sneak peek of what you will see.
Preview of what coming attractions. Thanks, Lisa. Board comments. We'll start with Chris.
Thank you for all of the reaching out from the community that we've gotten. We really appreciate it. It helps us do our job better. And if you have any concerns, please reach out to us. Keep reaching out to us.
Thanks, Chris. Aaron.
Yes, I want to echo what Chris said. I appreciate all the comments this evening. We've received a lot of emails. Do know that we are listening to all of you, and we are taking into consideration your thoughts and concerns. And I do want to share one thing. I want to thank Holly. I got to participate with her and Ming in a project for Portrait of a Graduate. We're very excited to share it with the community soon, to share the work that the community did on this and tell you where we're at and where it's going. So thank you, Holly.
Thanks, Aaron. Sue.
This is going to sound repetitive again, but I just want to thank everyone for coming out. I appreciate everyone's passion, whether you're pro-mask, anti-mask, whichever. I'm always pleased to see people at the meetings speaking from the heart. I like it when kids come, participate. So thank you. And I really, really am pleased to see people staying through the meeting.
Yeah.
I think that's great. So, thank you.
Thanks, Sue.
I can't add anything more. I appreciate everybody's time, effort, the amount of thought they put into their comments, and I understand how much their passion directs them associated with those things. And so I know we're all listening, and I am listening as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Craig. RJ?
Yeah, thank you for all the public comment. I know we have to sit up here with like stoic faces, but we are definitely listening and absorbing what you're saying. And thanks to Kathy for being on top of those public emails, although I think you've got 12 more to respond to since the meeting started. But thank you for all the response you've been doing. I appreciate it.
Thanks, RJ. That's nice. Yes, I have a very eloquent board, and so I won't be like Craig and say I have nothing to say and then say something. Thank you for coming out. That is the end of our meeting, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do we do comments
Second.
now for the remainders?
Pardon?
Do we do it for people that still, or if there's anybody
Oh,
left?
we went through them all, I'm sorry.
Okay, I didn't
Yes,
know
we
this.
got through, yeah, that was a good point. But yes, we did manage to get through everyone's comments ahead of time, thanks to people who were brevity and, I'm sorry, so moved by Locke,
Second.
second by Lowe. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned, thank you so much.
Do not oppose.